Minash-Shaytanir-Rajeem. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. My dear students, viewers and listeners, I welcome you to another session of sociological theory. Today we will briefly engage with structural functionalism. Structural functionalism is the paradigm of sociology. This is the paradigm of sociology. Why I term it as the paradigm? Because the earliest sociologists who started establishing and working in the scientific field of sociology, they worked in structural functionalism, beginning with Auguste Comte and then followed by Herbert Spencer, and then finally the hero, the man who laid the foundation of structural functionalism, Emile Durkheim, the French sociologist, founder of sociology, French sociology. Now, one thing you should keep in mind while studying structural functionalism, that it has close affinity with the biological analogy, with the concept of evolution and organism. After the Enlightenment, when Charles Darwin presented the theory of evolution, the concept of variation and change assumed a very important significance within the not only in the natural sciences but also into the social sciences. So Herbert Spencer, a British sociologist, he sort of co-opted the concept of organism from biology, and he compared society with like an organism. He said that society is like an organ, it's like a body, and it is a body of complex interconnected and interrelated parts. So this idea was later on picked up by the serious scientists, social scientists like Emile Durkheim, and then Marcel Mauss, who was his nephew, was a leading anthropologist, then by Talcott Parson, who developed the theory of social action and social systems theory, and several theorists in the field of conflict theory. So all these conflict theory, systems theory, several other middle range theories of Robert K. Morton, several deviance theories related to deviance, social stratification, division of labor, all these they fall within the purview of structural functionalism. The fundamental thesis of structural functionalism is that society is a complex system of interrelated parts, interrelated structures. Social structure is defined as a complex expression, a complex manifestation of different parts of the society. All these different parts of the society, all these complex, multiple and diverse parts of the society are brought together and interact together on the basis of the common norms and common values of any given society. It can be a Western society, it can be an Eastern society, a Hindu society, a Muslim society, whatever the existing social and structural and functional attributes and characteristics exhibited by a particular society, they are the product of the norms and the values and the worldview and the ideology of that particular society. Now, social structures are seen then, these particularly Emile Durkheim, he was interested in studying and analyzing the social structure on a macro scale, on a larger scale. Now, society as a whole, how it functions. Society exists independently of the construct of society, the concept of society, the notion of society, the idea of society, the system of society exists independently of the individual. Structural functionalists are not concerned about the individual preferences, individual likings and dislikings, individual behaviors and norms. No, they are not concerned with that. They are concerned with the collective behavior. They are concerned with the collective norms. They are concerned with the social values. They are concerned, in other words, the society per se, society as an objective structure of perpetuation and continuity, which serves as a superstructure over the life of individuals. Individuals are nothing but the manifestation of the collective, structural and functional attributes of the society in which they are born, of the society in which they live. Now, the religion of the individuals, the marriage system of the individuals, the interaction patterns of the individual, the political behavior of the individuals, the sexuality of the individuals, all these are shaped and structured around the notion of the social system, around the notion of social structure, and how it is then affected and interpreted by the individual. So the individual choice is not important as far as the structural functionalist outlook is concerned. It is the collective norm, it is the collective value, it is the collective worldview, it is the ideology of the society, the values of the society itself as a value, as a structure stands out as an objective reality and shapes the behavior and the outcome of the individual action. So then this idea of then it further developed, and functionalists like Durkheim, functionalists like Malinowski, and several other anthropologists and sociologists like Radcliffe Brown, Evans Pritchard, they try to understand then how these objective social structures then influence the functioning of the different part of the society. So there was more emphasis on the rationality and the philosophical understanding of society as a totality, as an independent, autonomous, abstract totality. That was the focus of the structural functionalist. Now, what they do, that they try to understand social roles. They don't try to understand the role of an individual. They try to understand the social role of the teacher, role of the father, role of the leader, role of the follower. These are social roles. Now these roles are then governed and shaped and driven by the collective norms of the society. They are different for the American society, they are different for the Pakistani society, they are different for the Indian society. For the Japanese, the values and the norms which motivate them to behave and interact in the larger system are entirely different from the values and the collective will of, say, Pakistani society or the American society. For the Japanese, their emperor, is like God. He is like God. He is descendant of the sun. He is sun god. His life is sacred. His life is important. And entire society revolves around that concept. And even after Second World War, when the Japanese, they lost their battle against the Americans, they refused to eliminate the notion of emperor and imperial family from their constitutional system. So Americans have to accept that. Although the system below became the democratic system, it is run by the Diet, it is run by the parliament, and elections are held. There are parties, multi-party system. But even today, the Japanese emperor is the source of all sovereignty in the Japanese political system. So when he is the sovereign in the political realm, he is also influential and fundamental into their ethical into their religious system, their religion, Shinto religion, in their social system. That is why you see the Japanese, they sort of believe in family culture. They live in families, and their family culture, their collective culture, then goes on to influence even their business culture. There is a well-known research by a leading American sociologist, Ahmad Raza, by the name of Japan as Number One. He wrote this book, Japan as Number One. And what he did, that he tried to understand the sociological and cultural root of the Japanese prosperity. He said that how is it that Japan made such rapid progress and achieved prosperity in a very short span of time. So in his book Japan as Number One, Ahmad Raza, he came up with the idea that it was the culture, it was the Japanese culture, it was the Japanese values, it was the Japanese norms. They live in groups, they move in groups, and they perform in groups. While on the other hand, if you go to a Western culture, say you go to UK or you go to North America, you will find an emphasis on individualism, on individuality, on rationality, on objectivity, on autonomy. All these things, are emphasized in the Western culture. He said, while studying the Japanese corporations and Japanese businesses, he found out that the Japanese prefer the group culture, the group values. Somewhat similar situation also prevails in our Pakistani culture if you look at it from the point of view of Ahmad Raza. We Pakistanis are also group oriented people. We also behave in a group like fashion. We also try to find someone and place him as head of the family or head of the group. You will find that brotherhoodies and tribes and groups are very active, not only in politics, but they also influence your belief system. What will be your belief? What kind of God or what kind of prophet or what kind of religion you will believe in? That is also shaped by your group. The group in which you are born or the family in which you are born, they shape your religion. They define your religious practices. What will be your firqa? What will be your school of thought? Which, fiqh you will follow? That is decided by the time you are 5, 6, 7 years old. That is decided. So is decided your certain political attitudes, your behavior towards political system and towards politician. It is also shaped and decided by the group norms and group behavior of the Pakistani societies. My grandfather was in the Muslim League. I am also a Muslim leaguer. My grandfather was in People's Party. I am in the. My father joined Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, so I am in Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. That is the group behavior. You do not investigate and analyze and understand the rational, Murtaza, and causal basis of your choices. You don't go into the detail and you don't undertake the criticism of your behavior. Your grandfather might be wrong. He is in a political party A or B or C. Why you should go into that party? But if you will not vote, your family will, your tribe will boycott you. Your brother will boycott you. Certain people vote just because I voted to such and such person, because my mother voted in for that guy. My father voted for that guy. You see? But in America, there is a great emphasis on choice, on individual action, on the use of reason, on the use of objectivity, on the use of individual autonomy. So, in this way, you can say that social structure that pervades over the individual, and then on the basis of that social structure, the functions of the society are then decided and they are carried out. But the main crux of this whole discourse is that structural functionalism emphasizes on social order. It emphasizes on stability. It tries to look at the social system as a cohesive, interdependent, interlocked, intertwined system in which different segments, in which different functions, they come together and they then perform certain things. Robert K. Martin, he analyzed the functions, theory of functions, and then divided it into his studies on deviance is also very important. But he gave this concept of latent function and manifest function. He divided the functions as a those who have studied sociology may be aware of this division, this dichotomic concept, latent function and the manifest function. Now, the manifest function is the function which is rationally and objectively visible to everyone. For example, take a university. Take the example of a university. Now, university, the manifest function of the university is to train and educate the people. That is the manifest function of the university. You see, but at the same time, the university undertakes extracurricular activities. It arranges annual dinners, freshman dinners, it arranges musical evenings, it takes the people to sightseeing. There are photography clubs, there are music clubs. So these are all, and then there are social and religious and cultural and other value socializations going on within the society. Apparently you are coming to a society, apparently you are coming to achieve or do a degree, and the function of the university is to help you in that, achieving that target. But at the same time, the university latently, hiddenly, mysteriously influences you and shapes you regarding your personal values, regarding your outlook to the reality, regarding your relationship with other people, regarding your interaction with your peers. So that is the latent function. There is the manifest function. Similarly, Durkheim gave a very interesting division between the social system, social organization. He said there are societies who are mechanically organized, and then there are societies which are organically organized. In the mechanical societies, the objectivity, instrumentality, transactionality of relationship is emphasized. Everything is exchanged for something. While in the organic societies, which are mostly rural societies, which are mostly more you can say Gemeinschaft, as Edward Tony says, they are like Gemeinschaft. They are more coherent, they are emotionally bonded. If you go to a rural society, you will find that, oh, Falan da putar, Mame ka beta, Chache ka beta, Khala ka beta, they come together as a family of emotional bonding. So that is the organic society. While in the mechanical society, which is the form of industrial evolution, so you have to look into sociological development, the development of sociological thought in the context of industrial revolution, in the context of enlightenment, in the context of French Revolution in America, all modern developments which led to the freedom of human soul and human spirit, and all these political, cultural, economic and historical forces helped in establishing a system based on reason, not system based on dogma, on religion, Christian, particularly in the context of the Western society. Then later on, that idea of enlightenment traveled to other parts of the world, to Japan, to India, through colonialism, through trade of the white races with the Asian and African races. The white men, the Anglo-Saxon people of the West European civilization, they took the idea of human rationality, they took the idea of progress, they took the idea of development and democracy and human freedom to all corners of the world, wherever they went. They came to India and they introduced the idea of councils. and elected representatives initially. Then full-fledged elections were held later on in 35, in 1916, 35, then 1946, on the basis of which Pakistan was created. India and Pakistan, two separate dominions were created. It is because of, it is the fruit of the British democracy. It is the fruit of British liberal political tradition, which benefited the local Indians. You see, so this is how the Westernization, went beyond the borders of Western, from the limited geographical conditions of the Western societies, went beyond, and it influenced the African societies, and it affected the subcontinent and Far East, Eastern societies. This is but natural, because they had the political hegemony, they had the political domination, and they had the technological superiority over the rest of the world. So their way of doing things, their practices, their collective idea of society, social organization, social system, and the functions related to the social system, was taken as the norm of the society. This is how the society is to be organized. And now it has, in these times, in the post-COVID-19, it has gone to the next highest level. Now the society exists as a technologically generated imagery. It is now a technologically generated imagery mediated through internet, through the communication networks, through the media. And we exist in that. We don't know what is the reality, actual reality. We will discuss in our next coming lectures, we will discuss the idea of hyper-reality and simulacra by Baudrillard, a French postmodernist thinker. But just to give you an insight that this is what I call that we are technologically determined, techno-determinism. We are living in the age of techno-determinism. Now what is techno-determinism? This is also a systems approach. The technology in the social domain, technology in the political domain, technology in the economic domain, technology in the religious domain. If you analyze YouTube data, just analyze 1 week, and you analyze all these just 4 algorithms, the economic, the religious, the political, the cultural. Make the searches and you will find a lot of mullahs, on the YouTube, spreading their words, selling their religious products, selling their solutions, selling the tickets to heavens. Follow them and they will, they will get the money from YouTube and you will get the ticket to the heavens. But my question to you is, and my point is that should we remain stuck into the objectivity and the rationality and the systematic interdependence of the systemic forces, or should we not look beyond that and try to find out and question that whether this system is really a rationalized system or it gives the look of a rationalized system? And there are elite behind it who are controlling the economics, who are controlling the politics, who are controlling the religious outlook. Look at Pakistan, how extremism has taken a toll on our society. Our society was a moderate, open and accepting society as far as religion concerned. Go 50 years back, 60 years back, it was an open, spiritually enlightened and a moderately accepting society. Today, within a family, 2 brothers belonging to 2 different mullahs, they cannot sit together. And they are passing fatwas on each other. That you are the kafir, and he says you are the kafir. Now my question to you is, do you think that this is a systemic and functionalist and structuralist panacea? Do you think it is justifiable? So you have to critique it and you have to look beyond into the meanings of these social complexities into the meaning of these inequalities. This is what the other perspective. The systems perspective of Parson says that all the systems of society, they are intertwined, interdependent, and they serve certain purpose, certain functions, and they are rationally and logically interconnected. And once we can analyze those functions and their rational basis, we can universalize and we can predict about the outcome of the human behaviors in future. I seriously doubt it. It is very difficult to predict the outcome of human behavior. It is very difficult to control the human mind. But people are trying. People are trying. And that is what is happening in a techno-determinist age, in an age which I call technological determinism. We are living in the age of technological determinism. All my thoughts, all my physical movements, all my emotional engagements, all my mental priorities, all my religious feelings, all my psychological and social needs, they are technologically determined. And if you want to find out that, all you have to do is just Google your own search activity. All you have to do is to just search your own YouTube activity. And you will find out how Google and YouTube is shaping your search logarithms. How they are creating a techno man out of you. How they are creating an objectified man out of you, or a woman out of you, a person out of you, who has no connection with the reality and who has no understanding what reality is, in a sense, but who is driven to believe into the illusions created by the technologically generated imagery of the society and of the collective, which in fact doesn't exist. Every time you log into YouTube, every time you log into this Google, what is it that comes to your mind? What is it? What is it? What is it? Number one, nobody is watching me. This is the most important thing. Let me tell you, the dynamics and the dialectics of your YouTube search and your Google search. First of all, and this trust has been created by the technology, that my search, my quest is a private one, and I can do anything on the Google, on the YouTube. But the reality is quite the contrary. All your activities, all your actions performed on the YouTube and Google are closely monitored, recorded. Just make a wrong entry. It's a binary, because the computer works on a binary logic, 0101. Just enter spellings of the Durkheim with the wrong spellings on the Google. The Google will flash back and say, did you mean Durkheim? This Durkheim, or you want someone else? Did you mean Dr. Ahmad Raza? Which Ahmad Raza? Imam Ahmad Raza Barelvi or Dr. Ahmad Raza Shah? So then you narrow your search, advanced search setting. The more advanced you become, the more advanced prisoners you become of technology, of information. And bit by bit, you are trapped. Bit by bit, you are divided. Bit by bit, you are controlled. When you go on the road, when you are driving your car, are you traveling? Do you ever think, or does this thought come to your mind, that your traveling is being monitored? Tell me. While you are driving, while you are traveling on the road, even if you come into the campus, do you think that there are CCTV cameras? Even if you read that smile, cameras are watching you. If you enter into the campus from the southern gate, you read, you find the car. Do you? What is this? This is the beginning of the society of mass. And now tell me, how far control can go? Because when you adopt a structural functionalist approach, the social control becomes an important, because you want to achieve stability and you want to achieve social order. That is the prime objective of the systemic approach. That is the prime objective of the structural functionalism. That is also the prime objective of the conflict theory. But conflict theory achieves order and stability through conflict, through inequality. They say that no, it is not the equality, it is not the freedom, it is not the autonomy, it is not the rationality of the individual and of the society. It is not the rational foundation and the rationalization of the social structure that is important. It is the conflicts, economic, psychological, social. They play the important role. And as long as there are conflicts, as long as there are inequalities, as long as there are contradictions, there will be an order, there will be a stability in the society. So they create stability and order in a negative fashion, in a negative way. They create stability in a negative way, in a negative fashion. But they are also serving the same purpose. Do you think the slums have a positive role in the society? Do you think slums in Lahore, in other parts of the shanty towns, do you think kabza, land kabza mafia is a positive force? But they perform a role in the society. Have you been to a slum site? Have you been to a kabza place which is under the control of the kabza mafia? Land grabbers. Is there a way out? There is no way out. As long as we accept them as the norm of the society, that this is the normal. Stealing of electricity theft, stealing of gas theft, all these things, they are justified and rationalized within the structural functional dysfunctionalities of the society. They are accepted. You can't get rid of, you just comment on them, and this is how the Pakistani society works. This is how the Pakistani society works. And let me tell you, my friends, structural functionalism even works today. Because it is the paradigm of social sciences. All other paradigms have been derived out of it. In America, you will find drug barons, you will find prostitution, you will find juvenile delinquency, you will find gun shooting, all kind of crimes. The more capitalistic a society becomes, the more inequalities are created and the more crimogenic the society becomes. You have more money than me. What is the easiest way to become rich? To rob you of your money. You have more money. You move in a Audi car or a Lamborghini, SUV. I am most of the time I am walking on 11 number wagon on my 2 feet. And one day I got frustrated. One day and you go and find out that most of the criminals in the central jail are the product of the economic frustration of the society. You will find the economic reason behind it. Broken families. Why are families broken? Have you ever given a thought to it? Why families are broken? Why divorces take place? Why people are killed in the name of religion? Why mothers abandon their children? Why fathers do not feed their children? Why the rigging take place in elections? Why the corrupt and the filthy elite, rich, corrupt gets away from all laws? And a poor, ordinary university teacher like me, he is under the radius and the radar of the law enforcement. He cannot even breathe on his own will. All his activities are recorded and noted. Why? So is it enough to say that a social structure, performs certain functions, so it is justified? Is that enough? Is that logic is enough? I don't think so. That is why gradually in the 70s and onwards, structural functionalism faded into oblivion, and other perspectives like ethnomethodology, like dermatology, like symbolic interactionism, like constructionism, and then feminism, postmodernism, they started emerging in the sociological discourse. There are as many sociological theories, my friends, as there are sociologies in this world. Every society has its own sociology. There is not a single society. There is, keep in mind, and I am not teaching you Western, although I am using the concepts, but I am not teaching you the Western sociology. All my examples are related to the Pakistani sociology, the Pakistani society. I am using their concepts to understand my society. I am using structural functionalism to understand Pakistani culture. So this is how it can make relevance to you as young sociologists, as emerging social scientists. Otherwise, it is meaningless. So the emphasis is on the abstract and objective roles and abstract and objective social structures. That is, you can say, is the hallmark of the structural functionalist approach. So that is all for today. Inshallah, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you very much.